Step 1 is draw a circle that's a little bit wider at the top. Always look at your reference picture. The second thing you're going to do is actually draw a very light contour line showing the shape around the top of the apple. Next, we're going to draw a little line like a smiley face showing where the beginning of the stem comes out of. Next, we're going to draw our stem. When we draw our stem, remember it doesn't go outside of the apple, it stays inside the perimeters of the apple. So we're going to go ahead and draw that, remembering that the top of the stem is actually fatter than the bottom of the stem. So see how I'm putting this funny little angle at the top, and it's fatter, and then I come back to that little smiley bit. Make sure your pencil is sharp for this next part. Now we're going to shade in the stem itself. If you look at the direction of the light, it's coming from the top right. So we have to leave a very thin white line on the side of the stem when we're shading it in. We shade this in completely dark. Now we're going to shade in the top of the apple. Most of it is completely light, but you can see near the stem where there's a bit of a hole, there's actually a very dark section. Now remember we talked about contour lines. We need to follow the contour lines out of this hole in the middle. So I am drawing the contour lines coming out as I shade it from dark to light. Notice how I'm also using my paper stub and my eraser to actually help me if I put too much shading in there. I want to try and make sure I'm keeping these contour lines though. I don't want them too bold, I want them really subtle. So I'm using my eraser and paper stub to help me do that. Top of my apple is super light, so I'm just going to use my paper stub to do a tiny little bit of shading around the top. I'm going to keep following those contour lines with the paper stub. Observe the photo of the apple. You can see along the top, after that shiny section, there is a band of dark. So now I'm going to put in that dark, but I'm making sure when I shade that in, it's not completely dark, it's a mid-tone, and I am using the same contour lines around the apple, so that up and down motion. I'm not doing anything across because that will take away that beautiful texture of the apple that I'm trying to achieve. Also, please note that it's not a really harsh dark band. It actually has a bit of softening at the top and bottom. Can you see how I'm using my pencil to actually soften it when I reach up into the top sections? I'm trying to keep the integrity of that band, but keeping it nice and soft at the same time. Now, just like when we worked on our spheres and there was that tiny little bit of refraction light right on the edge, this time as we shade into the side of the apple, we want to leave a nice thin white line of shine on the side of the apple. This step is super easy. You just get your paper stub and you smudge all that lead pencil down into the bottom of the apple. But make sure you keep following those contour lines, and on the left side of the apple, leave that little sliver of white shiny bit. If you made any mistakes, don't stress. This is the part where we come back with our rubber and you use the edge of the eraser, like the little sharp edge, and you put some of those contour lines back into the super shiny part, but also you can bring that shiny bit down the side of the apple like it was meant to be. This is also the part where you'd add in any little spots on the apple if you wanted to add in the little spots. Step 9, on the other side of the apple, the opposite to the shiny side, you need to put a nice dark line in there. It's not dark the whole way though. The darkness goes from the bottom and then fades out towards the top, so make sure you get this correct. The photo again. Now we're going to put in this nice dark arc down the bottom, that's a shadow. You can use your pencil horizontally for a little while, but make sure you switch back to vertically to keep those contour lines in as quickly as you can. This dark shadow bows upwards, so make sure you're following the photograph with this. Last step is the shadow. Now if you look at the photograph again, try and just observe which way the sun's coming from, or the light rather. And if you have a look at this photo, you'll actually see that it's in the shape of a bit of a bum. So turn the paper whichever way you need to turn it to make it easier for yourself. I always like to have it on an angle because I'm left-handed. And then try and do your shading as neatly as you can. Remember, it's going from dark to light. You can also use your paper stub to help you smooth this out. One last thing I forgot to mention, if you have created any smudges because you're left-handed or because you're right-handed, use your eraser lastly to just clean up those edges, make sure they're really crisp, make sure you can see those edges really nicely, and then finally, sign that thing.